Something terrifying has just been discovered about Jesus. An ancient document has shocked everyone with what it reveals. It includes a detailed report from Claudia, the wife of Pontius Pilate, something rarely talked about. Claudia described Jesus in a way that could change how we see history. What you're about to hear might completely shift your understanding of him. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more powerful videos like this. Claudia Procula, Pilate's wife, lived through the events that changed the world. While her husband ruled Judea, she stayed mostly quiet, observing everything. She held a secret that could have changed everything. Claudia was a noble Roman woman, known for her grace. She moved to Jerusalem with Pilate and lived a quiet but alert life. As his wife, she heard things others didn't. That's how Jesus came into her world, little by little, almost without her realizing it. Most Roman elites ignored the stories about Jesus, but Claudia couldn't. The more she heard about his miracles and teachings, the more curious and uneasy she became. Something about him stayed in her mind. She felt torn. Her Roman upbringing clashed with a strange, powerful presence of Jesus. Why would someone who preached peace and love be seen as dangerous? Claudia began to sense that Pilate would play a key role in whatever was coming. That feeling grew stronger and harder to ignore. She had moments and dreams that deeply affected her. Though she lived in comfort, Claudia was not blind to the pain around her. As Pilate struggled to control the unrest, she saw the suffering in the streets. The violence and Roman control over the Jewish people upset her deeply. The more she saw, the more her heart was troubled. The more suffering Claudia saw around her, the more she felt that the Roman Empire was fighting something sacred, something she didn't fully understand but believed was real. Jesus, who was becoming more famous in Jerusalem, seemed to stand for everything Rome wanted to silence. Claudia was uncomfortable with how harshly her husband, Pontius Pilate, handled things, especially his actions against Jesus and his followers. While Pilate saw Jesus as a threat, Claudia felt there was something special about him. She struggled inside, torn between her Roman values and a deep feeling that Jesus was different. What worried her most was that Pilate would soon have to decide Jesus' fate. One night, Claudia had a powerful dream. She saw Jesus glowing with light, but also suffering. He walked calmly, knowing what was coming. The dream shook her so much she woke up scared and in tears. Unlike her other dreams, this one felt urgent and real. She believed something terrible would happen if Pilate condemned Jesus. That morning, she begged him not to take part in the trial. She told him everything from her dream and pleaded that this wasn't just politics, it was spiritual. But Pilate brushed it off, saying it was just a bad dream. Feeling helpless, Claudia feared for what was coming. Still, she tried again the next morning. With a pale face and a trembling voice, she warned Pilate again. Jesus was innocent and unlike any man she'd ever seen. Pilate, focused on duty and political pressure, refused to listen. He thought Claudia was being superstitious. He had to appear strong and in control, especially with the religious leaders and the crowd pushing for Jesus' death. Claudia begged one last time, asking him to think carefully. But Pilate remained cold and decided to go ahead with the trial. When the trial day came, Claudia felt a heavy darkness in the city. She heard the angry crowd from Pilate's palace and watched with dread. The people shouted Jesus' name and accused him of blasphemy and challenging Rome. Claudia knew her husband wasn't just making a personal decision, he was trying to stop a riot. As the voices grew louder, she realized the crowd had already decided Jesus' fate, and Pilate would give in. In that moment, Claudia knew the tragedy couldn't be stopped. Her warning hadn't been enough, and that pain would stay with her forever. Claudia stood still, heart pounding. She realized her warning to Pilate the night before had been useless. He was stuck, pressured by Rome and the angry crowd. Claudia couldn't bear to stay and watch. The weight of the moment crushed her. Deep down, she knew Jesus was going to die, and her life would never be the same. The crowd grew louder, demanding Jesus be punished. Claudia saw her husband, Pontius Pilate, trying to stay calm, but he was clearly shaken. He looked tired and unsure. Though he tried to reason with the people, the religious leaders pushed hard for Jesus to be condemned. Pilate looked like a man caught in a battle, between duty to the empire and fear of a riot. The crowd wanted blood. Claudia felt her voice didn't matter anymore, and Pilate seemed to have lost control. When he washed his hands in front of them, it was clear he was giving up, even if it haunted him. Claudia felt a chill as he did it. That act didn't free him from guilt. It just showed how powerless they both were. She knew this was the last chance to stop a tragedy, and they lost it. After the trial, Claudia went back to the palace, but it no longer felt like home. Everything felt dark, quiet, and heavy, like Jerusalem itself was mourning. She watched Pilate return in silence, but his guilt was obvious. He'd made a choice he would never forget. Claudia felt empty. She couldn't forget Jesus, his calm face, his silence. The nightmare she had came back to her mind. She had tried to stop this, but it was too late. All she could do now was wait for what came next. News came. Jesus was being tortured. Claudia was crushed. She couldn't stop thinking about the kind, peaceful man she had seen. Now, soldiers were beating and mocking him. Each update made her feel worse. She didn't understand how someone so good could be treated so cruelly. Her guilt and sadness grew. Claudia realized her dream, her instincts, everything had warned her, but no one listened. In her heart, she felt something bigger was happening, something beyond human control. She was torn between fear and a strange sense of awe. Claudia finally accepted that she couldn't stop Jesus' fate. She was just a silent witness, caught between the power of Rome and something far greater. At that moment, Claudia Procula's life changed forever. She had always stayed out of her husband Pilate's matters, but one brief moment changed everything. She looked into Jesus' eyes, and something inside her shifted. His face was calm and wise, even though he was suffering. It was like he knew everything and still accepted it with peace. In those few seconds, Claudia felt something she had never felt before. Jesus' gaze was full of strength and deep compassion. It felt like he could see into her soul. The moment was short, but powerful, so powerful that she couldn't forget it. There was something mysterious about him. It scared her, yet gave her hope. She couldn't understand why anyone would want to harm such a man. Claudia begged her husband not to condemn Jesus. But it was too late. On the day of the crucifixion, Claudia felt sick with fear. From early morning, she felt like her soul was breaking. Jesus had been sentenced to carry his cross to Golgotha. She didn't have the courage to watch, but her mind kept picturing every step he took, every hit he received. She knew he didn't deserve this. She hid alone, trying to pray, hoping the pain would pass. But it only got worse as the moment came closer. She imagined Jesus nailed to the cross, suffering in front of people, some cruel, some crying. When she heard he was raised on the cross, she couldn't hold back tears. She didn't fully understand who Jesus was, but she knew he carried a purpose no one could explain. Something in her changed forever. His death wasn't just the end of a man, it felt like the end of hope. Claudia remembered his face clearly. Jesus had dark skin from the sun and a life of work. He looked like any man in the crowd, but he stood out. His eyes were deep brown, full of wisdom and peace. Looking into them felt like drowning in truth and love. His hair was dark and wavy, blowing in the wind. He looked simple, real, humble. His beard outlined his kind face, showing strength without harshness. He didn't look powerful like Roman rulers. He looked peaceful, like someone who truly cared. To Claudia, Jesus wasn't just a man from her time. He was something more. Simple on the outside, but unforgettable in spirit. An ordinary man with an extraordinary mission. Claudia waited anxiously during the trial. Jesus stood calm, while religious leaders shouted lies and accused him of blasphemy. The crowd was loud, the scene tense, but he remained still. And Claudia knew. Her life would never be the same. Claudia was shocked by how calm Jesus stayed while everyone accused him. As people shouted and pointed fingers, Jesus stayed silent, like he knew something bigger was happening. Her husband, Pontius Pilate, tried to be fair, but the pressure from the crowd and Jewish leaders made things hard. Claudia saw the inner struggle on his face. He was used to making strong decisions, but something about Jesus shook him deeply. Jesus didn't fight back or defend himself. He just stood there, peaceful and quiet, as if he had already accepted his fate. Claudia had never seen such calm in someone facing death. When Pilate asked the crowd what to do, and they yelled, "Crucify him," Claudia felt heartbroken. She knew her husband was under pressure, but she couldn't accept the injustice. As Jesus was taken to Golgotha, the place of execution, Claudia felt helpless. Though she wasn't there physically, she imagined the pain he went through, carrying the cross, the nails, the suffering. She couldn't forget his peaceful face during the trial, now replaced with the thought of his torn body on the cross. She prayed to the Roman gods but felt nothing. Her soul was crushed by guilt and sadness. When the sky darkened and the earth shook, she felt like nature itself was mourning his death. She knew something powerful had happened, something that would change the world. After the crucifixion, Claudia stayed quiet, deeply changed. Days later, news spread: Jesus had risen from the dead. At first, she didn't believe it. But more and more people claimed to have seen him alive. Even Roman guards said the sealed tomb was empty. Claudia began to realize this was something far beyond human understanding. The man she saw die had truly come back to life. She remembered her dream and the strange feeling she had from the start, that Jesus was no ordinary man. Now she believed. His resurrection wasn't just a miracle, it was a sign. Everything he taught, love, peace, forgiveness, was real and eternal. Her heart was changed forever. She had witnessed the greatest miracle of all time.